So this was my math section score in 9th grade, and this is what I graduated with in my senior year. And after graduating from high school and college, I spent the next 11 years helping students like Rodrigo to go from 430 to a 730, Esther to go from 470 to a 710, and Ian to go from 520 to a 790, and hundreds more students to reach their target SAT math score. And one thing I can promise you is that by the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly what you need to do to raise your SAT math score up so that you can get your target score on your next SAT. And if we haven't met yet, my name's John. I've been an SAT math tutor for the past 11 years, and my specialty is taking a student who's currently in 400, 600 range to 700 plus by their next SAT. It really doesn't matter what you're starting with. And I started this channel about 4 years ago, and SAT math is the only thing I focus on. I don't talk about the reading section, writing section, ACT, college admission, college essays. I don't talk about anything like that. I simply focus on the math section, and every single waking moment of my life is spent on analyzing SAT math and providing you guys with the best possible resources so that you can reach your target score as quickly as possible. Or maybe you were studying for a little while, but you're stuck in the vicious cycle of studying for the SAT, but not seeing any results and getting depressed by your results, but realizing that my time's running out, I have to study for the SAT and get my score up, and getting yourself back to studying and repeating the cycle all over again. And I am speaking from experience because that's the exact same process I have gone through for 2 years. It took me 2 years to go from 480 to a perfect score. And the funny thing is that hundreds and hundreds of students have gone through the exact same vicious cycle of not seeing improvements no matter what they tried. So I want you to know that you are not alone in this, but you have to understand why this is happening. And the key issue here is that, at least for me and my students, it's just that we were just doing it wrong. And worst of all, we didn't even realize that we were doing it wrong because it's our first time studying for the SAT. All of us were told that we need to study for the SAT and raise our score, but nobody actually taught us how to study for the SAT. So instead, we tried to figure this exam out. We were talking to the upperclassmen, signing up for this SAT prep programs. We tried what we could, but it simply wasn't working because we're just doing it the wrong way. If there's one thing to take away from this video, is that SAT is not a hard exam by any means. It's only hard if it's studied the wrong way. Because once you understand exactly how to study for the SAT using the 3-step process, you're going to be able to reach your target score super easily. And I promise you, you do not have to be mathematically gifted to hit a 700 plus. You saw all these students starting from 400-500s and now scoring 700 plus. You don't have to be a genius to get there. And even better, you're going to get there without having to be stressed out. You're going to know exactly what to do, and you're going to see your score go up every single step of the way. And SAT is almost going to become like a video game. And the best part, you're not going to have to spend every single waking moment of your life to study for the SAT. You're going to be able to minimize the amount of effort you put in and maximize the improvement you get out of it. Because nowadays, college application is not simply about having a high SAT score. You have to have a high GPA, extracurriculars, good essays, good recommendation, and a good SAT score. So your goal is to be done with the SAT as quickly as possible so that you can work on the remaining parts of the application. And to be done with the SAT as quickly as possible, you first have to understand how SAT works. You see, SAT is just a collection of questions. Essentially what they're doing is they're giving you a question like this, and they're asking, hey, do you know which concept you would use to solve this question? If you can make that connection, you'll be able to solve the question and get a high score. If not, you're going to miss it and be stuck with a low score. And on the SAT, there are only 25 things that are tested on the exam. If you can master all 25, you're going to be able to solve every single question on the SAT correctly and get the correct answer. But the caveat here is that you can't have a surface level understanding of the concept because SAT is getting harder and harder every single year. And back in the day, maybe having a surface level understanding might have worked. But if you're aiming for anything higher than 600, you have to have a deep understanding of the concept. And we're going to talk about how you can do that in a second, but you have to first realize that in order for you to solve all the questions correctly, you have to master the 25 concepts and have a deep understanding for every single one of them. But another thing you have to realize is that SAT is not all about solving questions correctly, but also quickly, because there is a time limit on the SAT. And the big problem is that students often run out of time and they end up missing questions they would have gotten correct otherwise. And that ends up happening because students often look at medium difficulty and hard questions and they ask themselves, how am I supposed to solve this question? Maybe I'll try this, maybe I'll try that. And next thing you know, you have spent 30 seconds, 1 minute on a single question, and now you're running out of time for remaining questions. But there is a quick solution to this weird problem, and that is College Board recycles questions. If there's one more thing to take away from this video, is that SAT is just a big exam of repetition. Instead of writing new questions for every single SAT, what College Board ends up doing is they pick out some good questions from the past exams and they just change the words and numbers up a little bit. They end up recycling the questions from the past exam and put it on your next SAT. And honestly, you cannot blame College Board because writing new questions is very difficult and time consuming. But College Board doesn't care about you. We don't care about College Board. How can we use this to our advantage? Well, you just need to become aware of all of these SATs question patterns. So for example, whenever you have a small triangle inside a big triangle, a triangle inside a triangle, triangle inside a triangle, if you ever see this on your next SAT, there's 99% chance that it's testing you on what's known as similar triangle, which you can set up the ratio to find out your missing length. All of these questions were tested on different exams, but they honestly look identical. And the only difference is that they're using different numbers and they're just changing the wording of the question a little bit. And the best part is that they are solved the exact same way. And if you look at all these questions, you see that, okay, we're working with 2 lines over here, 2 lines and 2 lines, and we're talking about number of solution, and number of solution. So when it comes to 2 lines and you're looking for number of solutions, you have to use what's known as the matching rule. And this is what we call question patterns. And there is a pattern for literally every single one of these 25 concepts that are tested on the SAT. And that's what I mean. Once you master and internalize all of these patterns, then every time you see a question like this, while your competition is trying to figure out, okay, what am I supposed to do here? Let me try this, let me try that. Is this the right thing to do? You look at this question and realize, oh, I have a triangle within another triangle, so it's gonna be similar triangles. Let me just set up a ratio and boom, boom, you get your answer. And that's what allows you to solve all of these questions quickly. No time wasted, and you will never ever have time issue again. And instead, you're gonna have so much time left over to double, triple check over your work to make sure you did everything correctly. And now, if you can solve every single question correctly and quickly, you think that, oh, I can hit 700 plus. But there's one missing piece to this puzzle, and that's going to be the hard questions. You see, there are 2 different types of questions on the SAT. One's where a newborn baby can even solve without lifting a pencil, or another type where most high school seniors are still struggling to solve. And these hard level 4-5 questions make up 25% of the SAT. If you have just surface understanding of the concept, you're only going to be able to solve the 75% of the exam, and you're going to end up with low 600s. But having a deep understanding of the concepts and all the insights you need to have for all these hard questions will allow you to get the 25% correct and get you to 700 plus, if not a perfect score of 800. And the best part is that there is also a pattern for these level 4-5 questions where once you become aware of them, you can solve these questions very easily. So now what that means is once you master the concepts, the question patterns, and all the insights for the hard question, you're going to be able to solve every single question correctly, quickly, including the level 4-5, the hardest questions on the exam. But there's one problem. How are you supposed to master these things for all 25 concepts that are tested on the SAT? Because if you can do that, you're going to be able to go from 600 range to 700 plus on your next exam. But the hard part is actually doing that for all 25 concepts. And when it comes to concepts, you can probably pick up one of these thick books and try to learn them. But the problem is these books are probably going to teach you way too many things or way too little things. And their practice questions inside are nothing like what you would see on the SAT. How do I know this? I studied with these kind of books when I was in high school. And worst of all, they're only going to give you surface understanding of the concept, not the deep understanding you would need to hit 700 plus. And I have looked at every single SAT book available, but none of them are talking about the SAT's question patterns. And the only way for you to really pick up on these patterns is by going through hundreds and hundreds of practice exams where you have done so many, you kind of know what SAT is going to test you on. But the problem is that takes forever and you don't have time for that. And lastly, when it comes to hard questions, you just have to do a ton of practice to get all the insights out of them. But the problem is that you only have limited number of practice exams, and you cannot afford to waste these exams for the sake of pulling out the hard questions just so you can practice with them. You want to save these exams as you get closer and closer to your next SAT. So at the end of the day, it almost seems impossible for you to master all of these things for 25 concepts that are tested on the SAT. But there's one way to get around this: master the concepts and get a major boost on your next SAT. But before I show you how it works, I first have to warn you that it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to be able to go from your current score to 700 plus within a matter of a couple of days. That's just not realistically possible. And second, you're actually going to have to put in the work. And I'm not talking about any kind of work. You can't half-ass it. You actually have to try and follow the directions. All in all, it's not going to be easy. But one thing that's for sure is that if you can do all of it, 700 plus is guaranteed. And that's how they did it. And don't just take my words for it, just listen to what they have to say. It's going to be the first link in the description. But first, let's understand how it all works out. Because if you do all this, you're going to get 700 plus. If not, you get your money back. That's simple. So there's two parts. First, when it comes to concepts and question patterns, we're going to use the Accelerator. And for the insights for the hard questions, we're going to use the Solidifier. So first, with the Accelerator, you're going to master the 25 concepts that are tested on the SAT. And we're not just talking surface level, we're going to go deep dive into every single one of these concepts. And how the concept mastery works is that for every single one of these 25 concepts tested on the SAT, you're going to go through the lecture, and you're going to go through the summary, the checklist, and the practice. You'll learn everything here using the video lecture, and you're also going to get a written summary based on what you have learned. It's going to summarize exactly what you need to know about that concept for the SAT. And then you're going to be given a checklist to make sure you have learned everything you would need to know. And if you haven't missed out on anything, then you can take the practice and see if you have a deep understanding of the concepts. And for any questions you have missed, there's going to be a video solution going over the question in step-by-step process. Essentially, think of it as you're going to relearn math in the exact way that SAT is going to test you on. Because every math question can be solved in 5-6 different ways. But for every question, there is one way that SAT wants you to solve it in. And you're going to learn that for all 25 concepts, and you're essentially going to optimize brain for SAT performance. And after that, you're going to be able to solve every single question correctly, but now you have to focus on the speed, and that comes through the patterns. And you know how we talked about the only way for you to pick up on these patterns is by doing hundreds and hundreds of practice exams and spending hours on them? Well, we're going to do things a little bit differently, and we're going to use what's known as the pattern integrated learning system. While your competition is going through a bunch of these practice exams just so they can slowly pick up on the question patterns, we're going to show you what these question patterns are as you learn the concepts. So for example, similar triangles is one of the topics tested on the SAT. So first, we're going to teach you what the concept is, and second, we're also going to show you, hey, by the way, for this concept, there is a question pattern. Anytime you see two triangles like this or a triangle within another triangle, remember it's testing you on similar triangle. So use this concept to solve that question. So while you are learning the concept, you also learn the question patterns along with it. That way, by the time you master the 25 concepts, you also have mastered the SAT's question patterns and you know exactly what to look for. And that makes SAT super easy. So for example, triangle, 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 triangle. What's it testing you on? Similar triangles. Very good. But that's not all. We also used what's known as the mental mapper. And what it does is it allows you to have every single type of question that SAT will ever test you on back of your head. So for example, on parabola, there are 4 different things that are tested. 2 of them are going to be forms and discriminants. And when it comes to discriminants, it's used for this and that, and this is what the SAT question would look like. So for every single concept that's tested on the SAT, you're going to know exactly what is going to be tested, how they are tested, and what the actual questions would look like on the SAT. So essentially, all the skills that you would have built up after spending hours and hours and hours with hundreds of practice exams, it's all organized while you are learning the concepts, and you will have all of them inside of you before you even touch your first practice exam. You're going to be months and years ahead of your competition. And lastly, we're going to have what's known as a speed training inside the program for both of these things. That will allow you to be quick with every single question pattern and all the types of questions you will ever see on the SAT. And we do that for all 25 concepts that are tested on the SAT. And the best part, everything we just talked about is going to be nicely organized into a physical booklet, and it's going to be delivered to your door. They don't sell these books anywhere else. Only the students inside the Accelerator program gets them because I have personally written them. It's literally 11 years of tutoring concentrated into a book. So once you're done with the Accelerator, you're going to be able to master the concepts and the question patterns, which will allow you to solve every single question correctly and quickly. But remember, there's one more thing, and that is going to be mastering the hard questions. And that's where the Solidifier comes in. While your competition is wasting valuable exams trying to pull out these hard questions and barely getting any practices on, what the Solidifier is going to do is it's going to instead give you a collection of hundreds and hundreds of hard practice questions. And they're going to be all organized by topic. When it comes to exponents, circles, triangles, word problems, proportion, whatever it is, it's organized by topic with increasing difficulty. That way you can save all your valuable practice exams and simply focus on practicing with the hardest and the hardest question. And more importantly, you're also going to get a solution video with all the insights you need to have for every single one of these questions. Because solving them alone is not enough. You have to pick up on the insights that will allow you to solve these hard questions easily and quickly when you see them again on your next SAT. Because SAT is an exam of repetition. And that's what's going to allow you to get the remaining 25% and hit 700 plus on your next SAT. So long story short, the Accelerator is going to help you master the concepts and the question patterns. And the Solidifier is going to help you master the hard questions by giving you a collection of hundreds and hundreds of the hardest questions only and all the insights you need to have for all those questions. And right now, if you join the Accelerator, you will get the Solidifier for free. It's going to be the first link in the description. But before you go, I want you to know there's more thing to the program because I want you guys to have the best possible resource when it comes to SAT prep. And you're going to get all these additional bonuses for free. So first off, you're going to get unlimited message support and we're going to have weekly group tutoring. One thing I can guarantee while you're studying for the SAT is that you are going to get stuck. If you are studying with a book, if you get stuck, you have to figure it out on your own. But with the program, if you get stuck anywhere, you can always message me directly and get help on your questions. 24/7, 365 days of the year. Anytime you get stuck, just shoot me a message. Hey John, I'm stuck on this question. This is my question. What am I supposed to do? And I can just quickly tell you, hey, do this, do that, and do that, and you're gonna be good to go. You wouldn't have to waste 10, 20, 30 minutes trying to figure out what you are doing wrong, because chances are you probably don't know what you're doing, and you don't want to lead yourself to a place you don't know. It's gonna stress you out, and it's gonna make SAT prep that much harder. And on top of the message support, we're also going to have a weekly live group tutoring session where you can hop on and you can ask me questions directly. We often do practice questions here, we answer all your questions, and we often make predictions on what you're going to see on your next SAT. But wait, that's not everything, because the program also comes with unlimited updates. If you don't know this already, SAT constantly gets harder and is always introducing new questions. And the last thing you want is to study with materials from 2 months ago, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, like these old materials. You don't want to study with these old materials and on the exam day get punched in the face with new types of questions. You always want to stay up to date with the best and the latest information. So for example, this was a new type of question that was not tested on previous SATs. When the question is testing you on sine and cosine, it's testing you on something known as the complementary rule. Now that was pretty common, but combining with another shape was a first. So when you're studying with the Accelerator, you can be confident that you have the best and most up-to-date information when it comes to SAT, because I'm constantly reviewing and monitoring these new SAT exams and making updates to the program if anything new pops up. And lastly, you're also going to be provided with exam strategies, because learning all these things are great. That's what you would need. But you also need to understand how to apply it to the actual exam you're going to take. And learning how to do that is going to be the last key to the puzzle, and is crucial to hitting your target score. At the moment, we only have about 8 exams, but it's going to continue to grow and grow. And there's going to be a solution video for every single question you're going to see on the exam. But the best part is going to be what's in the middle, which is also known as the performance analyzer. By simply plugging in your answers, you're going to know exactly what concepts you are weak on, why you got them wrong, and what you need to study to not miss them on the next practice or your next SAT. The analyzer alone is going to save you hours and hours of preparation by showing you exactly what you need to work on. And all of this comes with a lifetime access. Once you're inside the program, you can use it until you're done and be completely satisfied with your score. And if you join now, you're going to get the Accelerator and the Solidifier for free. And it also comes with the unlimited message support, group tutoring, program updates, and exam strategies for lifetime. Down the road, the Accelerator is going to turn into a subscription program where you're going to have to renew every month. But if you join now, you don't have to worry about that. And again, I'm going to have to stress that it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to go from 400 to 700 plus in a matter of a couple of days. On average, it's going to take about 6 to 8 weeks. Plus, you're going to have to put in the work, and you cannot half-ass it. You have to put in quality work and actually try hard. But after all that, one thing that's for sure is that 700 plus is going to be guaranteed. If not, you get your money back. If you can finish the program like these students and these students over here, you are going to see a major boost on your score. Because remember, in order for you to hit 700 plus, all you need is to solve questions correctly, quickly, including the hard ones. And to get there, you're going to need concepts and question patterns, which are covered inside the Accelerator, and a bunch of practice with the hard questions and their insights, which are going to be covered in the Solidifier program. As I said, SAT is not a hard exam. It's only hard if it's studied the wrong way. I studied the wrong way, and it took me 2 years to go from 480 to a perfect score. If someone had told me what I just told you guys, I would have gotten there in a matter of a month or 2 at the most. Because with these information, all these students have gotten there in a fraction of the time. If you want to hear what they have to say, it's going to be the first link in the description box. So if you guys have made it this far, I want to thank you for your time. You can learn more about it using the first link in the description. And if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Best of luck with your prep.